really appreciate you coming on the show today. And I'd like to introduce you, Pat Linnell. He was our teaching pastor at our church, at Bay Area Community Church, and but he started a new organization called Grace Bomb, and you got to check out the website gracebomb.org.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, so Pat, just give us a little bit of a background. How did you start? Just the whole background. How did it go?
The whole deal.
Yeah.
How far back do we go? Well, I was teaching pastor at our church. Loved it. It was a great gig. So I was there for 12 years. And a side note, I hadn't planned my life to do that, by the way. I thought I was going to be like business, marketing, just that stream. But then, God had other plans.
Is that what you studied in school to be in marketing and that type of thing?
I went to Towson University, business administration, and with a marketing concentration. I really actually feel like I just went to school to learn how to pass school. I actually didn't retain much in the brain, but I figured out how to graduate. Yeah. So I did. And I don't know, I just figured the biggest deal to me was let's figure out how to make money. I guess I need money. So business is a way to make money. Mm-hmm. And God had other plans when I was in my early 20s, and life took a turn, headed in a different trajectory, and ended up being your teaching pastor.
Yeah.
And
how was that? I mean, that transition, that must have been, I don't know, scary in a way.
Yeah, it was. I had opportunity to take a job with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, which at 22 was a great opportunity. I mean, they were going to start at the time it was like $50,000 a year with a car and a clothing allowance. And that was like awesome. Or on this other side, I could do a quote unquote pastoral internship that paid nothing, that I had to raise funds to do myself.
Wow.
And I was engaged at this point, and Kristen's looking around for houses, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know how this is all going to work. Mm-hmm. So to think secure corporate America versus step into this thing where actually by people's radical generosity, you're going to walk down a new path. Totally scary.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Massive faith step. I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for Kristen's, my wife's encouragement to do
Really?
it. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. How did that all come about?
She was a physician assistant, and she was working at a Maryland primary care. So she had drug reps running in and out all the time. I was working at a motorcycle shop with my business admin degree, but I just wanted to drive motorcycles, so I was working there. So she brokered the deal with Pfizer for the interviews, and they were going well. But it was very clear if I took corporate route, it would have pulled us away from this new community of faith where we were learning the Bible and what Jesus was teaching. And it was all very exciting and new. And I would have had to have stepped out of that. Mm-hmm. And
so that was later in life that you got, 22 or something like that. You started your faith journey.
Yeah, that's when it got real. So I grew up going to a small Episcopal church in Baltimore City. And so I had the roots of faith for sure.
Oh, okay.
Growing up in church, but I didn't know what it was like to really take Jesus seriously, to do the things that he said to do in life, like in real life. Mm-hmm. I had some church experience, but real life with Jesus, like out there in the raw, in the wild, different story, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so we got invited, Kristen and I. So we were high school sweethearts that we did the long distance thing through college. And in the last year of college, we got invited to a small group Bible study. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to expect. I had never been to one. Mm-hmm. I thought it might be just a bunch of weirdos. Or people like drinking Funky Punch, waiting for the hail bop to fly by or something.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about the invite to the Bible study, our friend, it was an old high school friend who had come to faith, and she didn't invite us to the Bible study at first. She actually invited us to a bar in Baltimore. And then at the bar in Baltimore, she invited us to the Bible study. And then we went. And then it was like, wow, these people are actually normal, young professionals doing well in life. And the things that we were learning was like, wow, this is really legit. This is really good and soul giving. And so that started me for sure, grounding me in a community of believers for the first time.
Yeah.
And Kristen really also had a life-changing experience because she grew up she grew up Roman Catholic, and she understood some things about Jesus, but not his grace, not his unconditional love for her. So what happened for her in that Bible study was, wow, so you're telling me that God loves me and I don't have to perform and earn that love. And it's like she heard that for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
So we start growing like weeds, and then the opportunity for the internship came up, and that's when life started to head down a ministry path that takes us back to your beginning question. Sorry, that was a long rabbit trail.
No, but that's awesome. You know, I mean, I had almost not similar journey, but I was a late bloomer. I think I was already had my children, and we were just going to a church that kind of similar to Bay Area, and like, well, man, my kids need to go to church. You know what I mean? I need to, so got volunteered and did the church ministry stuff, but I really wasn't like totally like sold into it. I just thought it would be good for the kids. But then eventually, you know, like going there 3 years later, you know, finally gave myself to Christ. And then that's when stuff kind of started changing, you know, for the good, you know, learning as much as I could. It's still learning, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Still trying to learn how to behave.
All the time. All the time. He's helping us grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. So then you're at Bay Area preaching and everything. And then how did it start to evolve with the Grace Bomb thing?
Yeah, I had a great run at Bay Area. Great team, great experiences. The church was growing. I had really worked myself into a dream job where I wasn't managing much staff, which in church life, you take on many roles.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to manage staff. I just wanted to teach the Bible. So man, I was able to preach, and people were bringing me vanilla lattes on Sunday morning and that's what my days were looking like. It was great. But the way that Grace Bomb came about was, and Jim, you might remember this from my time there, I tend to be a more visual presenter.
I miss you. I miss you, Pete.
Oh,
sorry, Greg. I love you too, man, but I love the visuals.
Well, yeah. So I'm undiagnosed ADHD, but I'm pretty sure I am. I just figured out how to manage it. So when I talk, I need to bring elements in. Yeah. And I think that's helpful for people too, to experience more than just hearing, but seeing and maybe feeling and smelling and all of the senses. It enriches the experience. And so at some point I was drawing unexploded ordinances falling from the sky as a description of grace, of God's just powerful, unexpected grace that he will rain down on people. And the metaphor being, you know, when a bomb hits, it messes things up. But when God's grace hits, it's equally disruptive, but for the good. It actually brings things together. So I was using that visual, and it just kind of stuck. And so it was the summer of 2017 where we did a sermon series. And if you're listening, you're not familiar with the church world, it's just a cool thing that, well, actually it's a thing that church people think is cool to do, a new series.
Oh, okay.
A series is a collection of teachings around a particular topic or theme. So we did this sermon series entitled Grace Bomb. And we wanted it to be different than just another thing people heard. We wanted it to be practical, and we wanted to give people something to do. And that's where the Grace Bomb cards and website were branded and born. Yeah. If you happen to be watching these, we send these all around the world. And if you're listening, you're going to have to go find this video, and because these are the Grace Bomb cards. But we invented those cards, and essentially a Grace Bomb card turns a random act of kindness into an intentional act of love by pointing to Jesus as the source.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like those little cards gave the congregation permission to get out of their comfortable church bubbles, and whether they're stuck in their bubble because of fear or apathy or comfort, those little cards were helping them pop their bubbles. And we saw a response that summer like I've never seen. It was literally like lightning in a bottle. And the stories that were coming in, and I'd be walking around Annapolis with a Grace Bomb shirt, and people would say, hey, I got Grace Bombed, or hey, where did that come from? And we had newspapers reaching out, and
oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
people trying to figure out what was this and where did it come from? Because there was this immediate explosion of awesomeness in the area. Jesus is getting the credit, and there was a buzz. And it was like, wow, let's give that away.
Yeah.
And that was the origin story of what caused us to want to give this away
Yeah.
to the world.
Yeah. And that made you think, you know what, turn this thing into an organization and grow it.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, simple tool. There's a card and a website that does the talking for you. And so I feel like most ordinary Christians need to take a baby step to get in the game of the Great Commission.
Yeah.
So, Jesus says the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. There's a ton of us who love Jesus, but we sit on the bench every day. And so for me, Grace Bomb is a baby step, and it's where most people need to start.
Yeah.
And by taking that step, they're actually able to push out, take a step of faith, start by loving your neighbor, even anonymously.
Yeah.
And yeah, we wanted just to give it away. So
I think it's cool too, because I think a lot of times people feel like, oh man, I'd be more like, geez, I got to do something like huge. But really, like you would say, you know what, just buy that person, a donut or something, Dunkin' Donuts or a coffee or something. You just say, hey, I got this, And you just that little, you just don't know how you can change someone's life. He might have been going through a tough time that day and say, oh man, that was nice,
Totally.
There's actually nice people out there, So, yeah, I think it's a great way to get connected, or just like, start doing nice things for people. You know what I mean?
It's where most of us need to start. And the cool thing that the science shows is the more you step out of your comfort zone, the more your comfort zone expands. So it's like, so for the average, believer out there, pretty daunting to think, I need to go tell people about Jesus or share the gospel. It's like everybody knows we're supposed to.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
How many times is that actually happening in a calendar year?
Mm-hmm.
0 for most people. So to put yourself in a position where speaking of Jesus actually becomes more natural, this is what this habit does.
Oh, okay.
And so, and I'll just give you an example. I went into a hardware store 3 weeks ago, and the guy who works in there, he saw me and he shouts from across the aisle, I had a dream about you last night. I'm like, that's weird. I mean, it is a place I frequent, but what's the context here? And he was with a customer, which made it more weird. And he said, no, I had a dream about you because I'm an ironsmith, or I work with metal, and I'm starting to make crosses. And I thought you might know where these things need to go. Well, why did he associate me with crosses in the first place? And why did he have a dream about me? It's because a year ago in the summer, I was in that store, and he commented on my hat. I was wearing a Grace Bomb hat. He said, that's really cool. So I took it off. It was pretty new at the time, and I gave it to him. So here you go. You can have it. You've been Grace Bombed. Okay. And didn't talk about Jesus, didn't bring it up, but he had the ability to associate, well, what is Grace Bomb? Oh, it's tied to Jesus. This guy is somehow tied to Jesus. And a year later, he's asking me, can we chat about where these crosses go? Mm-hmm. I think most believers aspire to live a kind of life that begs the question, but actually having a Grace Bomb habit forces it.
Yeah.
Because particularly, I mean, in Grace Bombing, you leverage the element of surprise, but I recommend Grace Bomb in your everyday walk of life where you normally are. So the Starbucks you frequent, the laundromat you go to when you have to do the things that are too big for your laundry, or the places you shop. Because if you Grace Bomb in those places, chances are you're going to run into some of those people again, and then they can approach you. Thanks for doing that. Why'd you do that thing? the next words out of your mouth are going to be about Jesus. And it wasn't weird or cringy because they asked you.
Yeah, exactly. So when you wrote your book, Grace Bomb,
Yeah.
which it's on Amazon, everybody.
It's on Amazon. I forgot to bring it.
That's all right. It's good. So with that book, were you writing in it what's practical of how to start applying these things? Is that what the book's about? I didn't get a chance to read it, so I apologize.
No worries, man. The book is how Grace Bomb came about, the biblical principles that undergird, like, why are you supposed to be nice? And let me just say this, because I also know there's this big part of following Jesus that we're big on truth. It's got to be the Bible, and Jesus is who he claimed to be, and there is right and there is wrong, and all those things. However, I will say this: God's leading edge is his kindness. Mm-hmm. The sun is rising, the rain's falling on the good people today and the bad people. That's what Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
And the first thing that hits people is God's kindness, because it's the kindness of the Lord that leads people to repentance. And so I explained that in the book and under the biblical undergirdings. And then we were just receiving story after story after story. And so we started to incorporate stories, essentially to help people think about creative ways they can do this on their own.
Yeah.
So the book was kind of an inspirational tool and a biblical undergirding of the grace bombing habit. Mm-hmm.
So relating this to business, I'm doing the consulting and that type of thing and coaching. But I feel having a nonprofit, which I guess is what your company, what company or whatever, it's still like a business, and like when you start something new, it takes a lot of your time and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So how was that journey when you said, okay, hey, because you're going to say, okay, I'm going to leave this job at the church. I'm getting paid on a normal basis. And now I'm going to go out and be like, what are we going to do now?
Totally.
I need to somehow generate some business, what I mean? So, I'm saying to anybody that was probably trying to start a company or whatever is probably very similar to what you had to do.
Yep. There's so much work behind the scenes. And it is, even if you're in a non-religious secular environment and you're trying to build something, I've had to develop a lot of those skills. And it hasn't been easy because my natural gift set is teaching the Bible, just preaching, stuff like that. That's I'll hit some home runs there. Everything else is like a bunt. Like the whole entrepreneurial business side, I'm like just getting on base. But I've had to learn a lot.
Yeah.
So with the nonprofit side, we basically, and how most nonprofits work is you cast vision, you get people, and it could be, let's say it's for profit and you need to have consensus and buy-in. You have to cast vision and you have to get your idea in front of the right people, and they have to believe enough to sow in or to invest into what you're trying to accomplish. So the vision has to be strong, and you have to hustle, and you have to push through people not getting it, people saying no, and
not stopping.
Right. Yeah. Especially if you have the passion and you see the need.
Yeah.
Like maybe at some point, like Mr. Wonderful says you need to take that dog in the back of the shed and kill it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that idea is just, if it's been a decade and hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah. But in the first 2, 3, 4 years, most people don't really get what you're trying to do. But it's so clear in your head, and you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing. And it's a lot of hustle, and it does require faith, even if you're just secular, complete business, not bringing Jesus into it. It's a faith step to start your own business.
Yeah. And it's, I think you just hit on to something too. It's like, when you have the clear vision in your head, and that's where you need to believe in yourself, and having, your faith too, to fuel that part too. It's like, cause people are like, wow, I don't understand what you're talking about here. I don't know, and that that you're going to make this thing happen. You know what I mean? And it's always some of the most, great athletes in the world, the ones practicing in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
basically. When I say the dark, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly, and then if suddenly, it seems like it was suddenly they're like a pro, they're awesome or whatever, but they've been doing it for years. You know what I mean? Discipline and just staying focused, and that's what's awesome. And I think having that passion is the first thing. Having that passion to keep driving you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's so cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of grind, a lot of faith, just to get the nonprofit side. And the book is a whole different story in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But even that, there are some Shark Tank like moments with the book, because I didn't really know how this process works, but at least in the Christian publishing world, there's only about 12 or 13 big publishers that can distribute nationally. And they typically don't take submissions from an author. They typically work with literary agents that represent authors. And so they already know who these agents are. The agents know how to present the material. So job one was, once I had written a bunch, thinking it was like pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. When it comes to writing your first draft, there will be 10 more.
Oh, wow.
Like, to get it to where it probably will end up. And so I thought I was done. And then I thought, just let's get this to a publisher. And there are great self-publishing mechanisms out there. So don't let me discourage you on that. But I was shooting for somebody who could distribute it further than a self-publishing avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So my first job was to get a literary agent to represent the book. And that was pretty hard to find somebody to believe and represent you. Because typically they know if it's going to be worth their time, they need to find an author with probably 3 out of 3, or at least 2 out of 3 things: really good writing, a great idea, and a platform. So I didn't have a platform, because, they're looking for people with millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers, tens of thousands of followers on social. They're trying to get a return on investment. They're thinking, if I'm going to put a book out, do you have a constituency that's going to buy it?
Yeah. Because
the publisher does not market for you. You are your marketing.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're looking for authors who have a pre-existing platform. I didn't have that. I had a good idea though. And I thought my writing was good enough, close enough. So I thought I had 2 out of the 3, and it came about with a literary agent that we met. We talked because of a relationship. I knew somebody that had worked with them, and so it was a relational connecting. And a lot of times, business and how things develop, it's the relationships.
Exactly.
And I tend to also believe that the kingdom moves through the speed of relationships. Like, God works through people and networks and those sorts of things. So I thought it was gold, and had this lady, and I thought she's really into it. And then she called me one day, and then I'm on the speaker phone with Kristen. I'm like, this is where we sign on the dotted line, and we're at the kitchen table. We're all excited. And the agent, Teresa, she starts saying some weird things like, it's a great idea, and I look at Kristen and I say, I think she's trying to break up with us. And then Kristen's like, yeah, I think she's trying to break up with us. So I have to kick into Shark Tank mode. And then I'm like, Teresa, sounds like you're trying to break up with us. I'm going to tell you right now why you do not want to do that. Because Grace Bomb is more than a book. It's a movement, and we have this and this and this, and you're going to want to take a risk on us. And I think through that, like in the moment, assessing the situation, realizing she's trying to back out, I had to up my game and say, no, listen, you really want to go with us. And so I think that pushed her over the edge. She's like,
you got to sell yourself.
You really did.
Yeah.
Even when God's on your side and all of this stuff, like, you still have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And so we did. She didn't break up with us. She took us on, and she basically got us 2 options for publishing: Focus on the Family or David C. Cook. And David C. Cook ended up publishing the book.
Okay. All right. So how many books have you sold?
Probably around 12,000.
That's good.
Here's the thing with books. It hasn't made any money, but here's the thing. Well, they gave me a little bit of money for an advance. Most books, I think 80% of all books written sell 8,000 copies or less. And that's a lot. To make a living as an author, you pretty much have to have a bestseller or kind of a runaway hit for that to be your career. For most people, books will be a legacy thing. For us, what the book did was it legitimized Grace Bomb, the idea, for leaders, pastors, congregations, because, you know, they're like, what is this bomb thing? When you talking about bomb? I'm like, hey, it's a metaphor. But what is this and where did it come from? But when you can say, hey, just read about it. David C. Cook published our book. For us, the publisher pre-vetted for us in the minds of people who might use Grace Bomb as a tool to let us in the door.
And like you said, it was in the circuit of, you know, the Christian churches and stuff like that. So they're heard of him and they're like, oh, okay, legit is, you know, it's legit, you know.
It did. It legitimized us as okay, well, they're not heretics and there must be something to this. And it opened a lot of doors. Yeah. It opened doors for Focus on the Family, which is a pretty big global organization. And we got to do some stuff with those guys and saw a lot of fruit from that as well.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and that's part of your business when you start, like, that kind of relates to, hey, you know, you need some type of, you know, referrals and, you know, people use your product and that kind of thing. And they're like, hey, you know, this, you know.
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
Let me look at my notes here.
Oh, for sure.
I did have a few things. I can go on and on, and, you know, because I'm so excited that you're here. It's great. I have a question. So, who were some of your mentors?
Definitely Greg, who you had on the podcast. And I give credit to Greg because he's the one who encouraged me to write the book in the beginning. He's like, you keep talking about this Grace Bomb thing. You should try to write to it. And so I tried writing back in like 2015. It was terrible. It sucked so bad. And so then I just put it on the shelf for 2 years. Then what happened was Greg was going to take a sabbatical and give me the keys to the church for the summer and say, do whatever you want for the summer. I'm like, all right. So he goes away. I get the keys and we're going to do this big Grace Bomb series for the summer. But then he said, Pat, you should take your book idea off the shelf, dust it off. And when you prepare this sermon series, think about it as these are the chapters of your book and resurrect that idea, bro. And so that was great. Yeah. That was great encouragement for me. So that's what I did. And that kind of rebooted the whole thing and put it on the path it really needed to be on. So definitely Greg, another guy from the church, Brian, just a super great. Brian and Susie were a married couple, and they also modeled for us stepping out in faith, because Brian also did a pastoral internship, and at least I knew that was a possible path of existence. Like somebody else has done it. They've plotted the course, they've charted the path, and I can follow down that road.
Yeah.
So really, I don't have a ton of mentors, just a handful.
Yeah.
And guys like Greg and Brian were probably the biggest influences.
Okay.
For me.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah, I think mentors are super important.
Big time. Yeah.
Goal setting. I'm big on goal setting.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I've grown a lot as I've grown to know I need some 6 years into Grace Bomb, because in the beginning, and this might be a little counterintuitive, and it might not apply to all situations, but in the beginning of Grace Bomb, my goal was walk through the next doors that God opens. So my job was look for the open doors, look for the doors that seem to be where there could be fruit and that God's opening. Don't worry about anything else. And so that was my strategic plan it's still probably kind of is, but now I've learned enough. So we're 6 years into the nonprofit, and I've learned enough to know this is what makes this go. This is what's probably a waste of time. And so I tend to want to follow the fruit and find those open doors. So strategic plan, see where God's leading, and just try to walk through. But here recently, goals are important for vision, and vision's important for anybody thinking about getting behind your organization and seeing where it goes with you, especially as a nonprofit, because none of this happens without the radical generosity of people.
Exactly.
Everything we do, I mean, the book you buy, and we do have some merch, for brand awareness, but we send these cards all around the world every day and as a gift to everyone getting them. And we also send bulk cards to churches and resources to churches as a gift. So we don't charge. So the nonprofit allows for all these things to hit the world as a gift, as a grace bomb. So to have a clear vision and goals is a pretty big deal at this stage in the game.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, people just liked me and they're like, yeah, I'll give it to your thing.
Yeah.
I think you'll probably do something cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going to happen. But now God has, he's taken us out to 92 countries and 3 languages and hundreds of churches. And now I get a sense of, okay, I kind of see where we need to go.
Yeah.
So what would be a really great goal? So I'm only kind of hitting that 5-6 years in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, I was on your website and I saw you had like sermon series that I guess you can download it for free.
Oh yeah. If you're a church, or in a small group, we've put resources there to help. It's one thing to get cards in your hands. It's another thing to actually be motivated to use one.
Yeah.
And that's where the biblical content and some of that comes in handy, because ultimately, man, you can have a cool card and a cool website and a cool hat and a t-shirt, but none of that changes anything.
Yeah.
It's only when Jesus is so fired up in your heart where you're like, I'm going to love that person, and they're going to be totally surprised. And you do it like that's the Lord.
Yeah.
And so we need to get with him and walk with him. So that's the other side of the nonprofit, is trying to create that content for people to use as well.
And as you grow, you're going to need more staff and resources and
totally
space to put all the
Yeah.
merch and all that in there, a little warehouse or something.
It's a whole thing, bro. It's like you've done this before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It takes, getting people on the bus and the right seats. You know what I mean?
It is. And here's a little cheat code maybe because I love your heart behind this, in that you told me, for those of you guys who don't know, you told me that you're trying to help equip particularly 35 to 45-year-olds take their next hill, their next mountain, business, entrepreneuring, and all of that. Grace Bomb has been able to grow over these past few years with very little marketing dollars, even though
that's great.
Those will be helpful and important. But we didn't have that. So how do you grow something without money? And the answer is relationships. And I'll just emphasize that as a cheat code for anybody trying to grow their business, through relationships. And I guess networking and stuff gets thrown around a lot. But maybe another way to think about it is, if you do something cool and you see somebody else in your space and you think their stuff's cool, talk to them about just collabing and doing something cool together. Doesn't have to be massive investments either way, but if your cool thing fits their cool thing, then that could be a fun way to grow. And that's how we've done it. And for us, our cool thing is we have this very practical tool, and we've been able to collaborate with other quote unquote cool ministries. They get the advantage of, we get to send all their people these. We get the advantage of, they have tens of thousands of people involved. And so for us, it's distribution mechanism. And for them, it's a leveling up of what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's a mutually beneficial experience, but it's gotten us in front of, millions of people.
Wow.
Without having to spend any money.
That's good. That's good. You have to be creative on how to, keep expenditures down.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So as far as you did talk about your goals, like what you're
you're
gonna follow
in general. Like I need to have some.
Yeah. And
go that way.
So like 10 years from now, what do you visualize? gracebomb.org to be like?
So I want Grace Bomb to be a household name, not for the fame of Grace Bomb, but for the sole reason, because this is a very practical habit.
Mm-hmm.
It is a baby step and most people need it. And here's what I think I'm convinced under the conviction of the Holy Spirit, not just Pat's brain, but for us as the church, like all the believers, if we're going to accomplish the Great Commission in this generation, not just like one to come when our kids grow up, but if we want to see it done, more people have to get in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't pop a mega church on every corner and still reach the lost people, even in our county, let alone our country, let alone the world. So how does the church accomplish the Great Commission? It's when all of us are taking the next right steps of faith. So I think we've created a baby step for the majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I want Grace Bomb to be a household name where people can easily access these cards. Not that they always need them, but it's pretty helpful to get started and doing something to get them. Right now, Grace Bomb, I would say, is a locally known, regionally kind of understood thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I want us to be in the back of the mind of every believer in the United States and then in English-speaking countries around the world, because we need a habit like this one.
I agree.
And so what does that look like practically? Well, if that's the 10-year vision, my current 5-year goal is to see 1 million new Grace Bombers build this habit in the next 5 years.
That's awesome.
So I think I have to go back and look at the numbers. So to put that into perspective, it's a God-sized goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to snap our fingers and get there. But last year, we put 92,390 Grace Bomb cards into the hands of people. So a little shy of 100,000. What's significant about that is every one of those Grace Bomb cards is a step of faith waiting to happen. It's a neighbor being loved. And if we can do that now in 5 years with building the right team, I think we could probably get 1 million people on board.
Yeah.
And here's the reason I have the million, and it's not just a big number thing. I can remember when Ellen DeGeneres partnered with a cereal company to try to get people to do 1 million acts of love. And I thought that was a very noble thing. And whatever your opinion on it with Ellen is, because I know that it also came out she was mean and stuff. So, but I thought if a secular TV talk show host comedian can partner with a cereal company and try to get 1 million people to love people because kindness is cool,
Mm-hmm.
how much more can we motivate the bride of Christ, who is literally built for kindness, and not just for the sake of kindness, but for the sake of pointing people to the source of kindness, Jesus? How much more can we and should we be the front runners of what kindness looks like in the world today?
Yeah.
And I was like, if they can do that with a cereal box, we can get to 1 million. That's my first goal.
I want you to tell the audience the story. I watched the video of this that we didn't even talk about it.
Okay.
The video of the guy broke down in his car and the other guy picked him up, and that was amazing story.
Are you talking about Dwight's story?
Yeah, I think it's Dwight's story,
Okay, yeah.
where he was going to do something bad.
Yeah, okay.
So
So
please tell that story. I just think what you're doing is helping people. And it's just, it's touching people's lives.
Yeah, that's why this is so cool, because when these cards get used, they could be very well walking right into a divine appointment. And sometimes we get to see that. So we had 1,091 stories reported last year, and Dwight's story was one of them. So we get this email from Dwight. This is the story you're referencing.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, and I'll paraphrase, he says, I was at a nature park and this family of 3 approached me asking for a ride back to their car. So this family had wandered too far down the trail, can't get back, come to a parking lot at another trailhead and ask for a ride home. And the guy says, Dwight, he writes us, he says, I'm not in a good place in my life. I've recently gotten divorced after 18 years. That was not by choice. I'm having a hard time at work, having some issues. And this family asked me for the ride. And what they didn't know was I was planning on taking my life after I went to the bluff of this nature park. But I didn't. This family prayed for me and they saved my life. And then he ended the story with, I wish I knew where they were in Syracuse. I don't even know their names. So we got that story and we went on a mission. My coworker and I, Gail, we started to see who in the past 6 months requested grace bomb cards in Syracuse. Because we were trying to find this family of 3 who grace bombed this guy because they prayed for him and then grace bombed him when they left. So that's how he knew to associate grace bomb with us and tell the story and Jesus and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so we found them and we emailed them Dwight's story and they were blown away by it. It was a mom and a son and a daughter. And I had caught up with that family and the story just kind of went on to blow my mind again because Joseph, who was in the family of 3, he was so cool. He's like, yeah, we were not having the best day. My sister rolled her ankle and everybody's mad. And like, but you know, they still wanted to pray for this guy and grace bomb him. So one of the little takeaways is grace bombing happens in everyday life when you're mad, when things aren't going well, and God can still use you in a major way. Obviously he uses family in a major way.
Yeah.
But then Joseph goes on to say, Pat, what you didn't know was we were so touched by when that story came and Dwight didn't end his life because my dad died from suicide. My uncle died from suicide. And I almost completed the task of suicide in 2018. And ever since then, as a family, they've been like walking and raising awareness for suicide prevention. And he just made the comment that God's still at work, even when they don't even know it in their battle against this darkness.
That's just awesome.
And it was incredible. And we don't always get to see the other side of when you drop a grace bomb, we don't always get to hear this other side. And admittedly, it might not have saved somebody's life. But here's the principle is this. When you feel prompted and you take that step of faith, whether it's in business or dropping a grace bomb or something with your spouse, you feel this thing that God wants you to do and you take the step of faith to do it. You're walking in a good work that God prepared in advance for you to walk in. That's when your soul comes to life. That's when it's living and it's walking with Jesus and it's the faith adventure. And that's what I want for all of us to know what that feels like and what that's like. And we definitely got to see that in Dwight and Joseph's story.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. And also thank you for what you're doing. It's a good thing. And I'm just excited to see it grow and and have you back on the podcast again.
Hey man, I'll come back and swap stories and there's plenty of things that we could have a whole podcast about what not to do.
Yeah.
and growing a business in your first 3 years for sure.
There you go. I appreciate it, Pat.
Very welcome, buddy.